All right, let's dive into a really fascinating question today. Coming to us from Meghalaya in India. How do you actually protect ancestral land? Something that's at the very heart of a community's culture and identity. It's a story about a law with great intentions and the incredible challenge of making that law actually work in the real world. And really, this is the core question, isn't it? It's one thing to write a law, put it down on paper. It's a whole other thing to build a system that can actually enforce it, day in and day out, against every possible loophole. And that's the puzzle we're digging into. And the stakes here, they couldn't be higher. We're talking about protecting ancestral land that belongs to tribal communities. This isn't just property. It's a cornerstone of identity, of culture, of economic stability. So whatever system you design to protect it, man, it has to be strong. Okay, so let's start at the beginning with the very first line of defense, the law itself. I want you to think of it as the main gate to a fortress. That gate has a name, the MTLRA, and the rule is actually pretty simple and clear. If a member of a scheduled tribe wants to sell their land to someone who isn't tribal, they have to stop. They first need to get official permission from the government. It's a mandatory built-in stop sign. On paper, the whole process looks really solid. Step 1, you verify who's who. Is the seller really a tribal member? Is the buyer not? Then you clearly identify the exact piece of land we're talking about. Only after all that's checked off do you get the official green light. And then finally, you can legally register the sale. Seems foolproof, right? Well, this is where that ideal process kind of crashes into a much messier reality. As the source material puts it, and this is a direct quote, these critical checks are often rushed, skipped, or forged. So that big, strong front gate we just talked about, turns out people are finding ways to sneak right through the cracks. So if one single gate isn't enough, what do? You don't just give up. You build a better fortress. You have to add more layers of defense. And the logic here is simple, but it's so powerful. Relying on a single point of failure is just a massive vulnerability. So instead, a really sound prevention system needs multiple overlapping layers of security. That way, if one layer fails, another one is right there to catch the problem. Let's see how this fortress gets built. And here they are, the 5 layers of our fortress. We're going to start with gatekeeping before a sale is even recorded. Then we add in scrutiny from local councils, we use technology as a kind of digital tripwire, we follow up with audits after the fact, and then finally we have strong enforcement as the ultimate backstop. Let's break each one down. The first layer puts a huge amount of responsibility right on the local sub-registrar. Before they even think about putting a stamp on a document, they've got a serious checklist. They need to see the original sanction order, no photocopies. They have to verify the seller's tribal certificate, the buyer's status, and make absolutely sure the land parcel on the deed is the exact same one on the permission slip. Layer 2 brings in some crucial local knowledge. You see, the autonomous district councils, or ADCs, they understand the really complex traditional land ownership systems that don't always show up on official government maps. Their no-objection certificate is a vital safeguard, basically confirming that a sale doesn't mess with any of these customary laws. Okay, layer 3 is where we get into the 21st century. This is all about building digital tripwires right into the system. Imagine every single piece of land having its own unique ID, or every permission slip having a QR code that you can scan to instantly verify it. The system could even automatically red flag any transaction where the buyer is non-tribal, forcing a human to take a closer look. It's all about making fraud much, much harder to hide. Now, the defense doesn't just stop once the sale is registered. Nope. Layer 4 is about looking back. Officials should be conducting random audits, constantly cross-checking the records to find any weird inconsistencies. And when they find forged documents, they prosecute. This is what creates real accountability. And finally, we get to the 5th layer, enforcement, the teeth of the whole system. There have to be serious, real-world consequences. If an illegal registration is found, it's got to be canceled, fast. The land has to be restored to its rightful owner. And if any officials were in on the fraud, they have to face criminal prosecution. This is what makes the whole system feared and respected. So, we've just built this incredible 5-layer fortress. It sounds impenetrable, right? But, every fortress has a potential weakness. And in this case, that weakness lies in the very foundation itself. This quote from the source material just gets right to the absolute heart of the problem. Where the map is blurry, forgery thrives. That one idea, it explains why even a 5-layer system can fail. And this is Meghalaya's big, unique challenge. How do you verify the identity of a piece of land? Remember, that was step 2 of the ideal process, when huge areas of the state aren't even fully mapped. A lot of land rights are based on custom and community agreements, not on these super detailed government survey maps. This blurry map is the critical vulnerability that can undermine all 5 of those defensive layers we just talked about. Which brings us to our powerful conclusion, the ultimate lesson from this entire, legal architecture. And this analogy just illustrates the entire issue brilliantly. You can put up a speed limit sign, but if drivers have no speedometer in their car, how can they possibly know if they're following the law? And how can police enforce it? The law, the MTLRA, that's the speed limit. But without clear data like complete maps and the digital tools to check it, the law is really just a suggestion. It's a really sobering thought. This story is from Meghalaya, and it's about land. But the principle here is universal. It forces us to ask a much bigger question. How many of our other important laws and regulations are out there trying to function without the basic data and verification they need to actually work? How many of them are just speed limits without speedometers, leaving all of us just driving blind?